What is up, TFA fam? Hope you are all doing well. Welcome into another edition of the Fantasy Authority podcast. It is divisional week. The playoffs are rolling along. Before we jump into it, we are giving away the Allen Robinson and the Keenan Allen signed jerseys. All you got to do, just watch. We're going to be giving one away on the DFS pod, which is going to be live Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And then the prop show Friday night, which is going to be going live at 9 p.m. Eastern. Just watch live. If you answer the question first, you get it. Pretty simple. All right, man, let's just go ahead and jump right into the top 12 rankings for running backs for the divisional weekend. These ranks are, kind of like quarterback, which we already talked about. These are pretty straightforward to me. I'm really only interested in playing like the top 5 or 6. Maybe Kareem Hunt, I have him at 7, you have him at 9. But other than that, like there's just not a lot of great matchups. I was surprised that you also had Nick Chubb at 1. We both have him there. You have Aaron Jones at 2, Cam Akers at 3, Alvin Kamara at 4, J.K. Dobbins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Leonard Fournette, Devin Singletary, Kareem Hunt, Le'Veon Bell, Gus Edwards, and Malcolm Brown to round out your top 12. And then mine are Chubb, Kamara, Akers, Aaron Jones, Dobbins, Clyde, Kareem Hunt, Devin Singletary, Ronald Jones, Gus Edwards, Leonard Fournette, and then Le'Veon Bell at the 12th spot. I'll just touch on these real quick because, like I said, I think it's pretty straightforward for this week, unless you happen to be in in a deeper playoff setting, or if you are doing an actual draft each week. You might have to reach down to the bottom of these rankings a little bit, but hopefully not. For me, Nick Chubb at 1. The hit on him all year was Kareem Hunt's going to eat into his pass catching role, blah 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 blah, and that was the case for the beginning of the year, right? Once Chubb came back in week 10, from week 10 to week 15, Kareem Hunt outproduced him in the passing game, which obviously, like I said, we would assume. Hunt had 20 targets, 16 catches, and 146 yards on 88 routes during that span. And Chubb only had 9 targets, 8 catches, 95 yards on 78 routes. So only a difference of 10 routes run between the two. But obviously the production leans heavily toward Hunt. But over the last 3 weeks, Chubb has slowly started to not necessarily take over that role, but he's getting a bigger piece of that pie than how that was set up in the beginning of the year. He has 10 targets, 9 catches, 107 yards on 51 routes, compared to Kareem Hunt, sitting at 7 targets, 5 catches, 58 yards on 53 routes. So Chubb has only run 2 fewer routes over the past 3 weeks compared to Hunt, but he is out-targeting him, has more catches and more yards. And then obviously we know that Chubb has been getting the bulk of the overall touches. He's out-touched him 52-27 over the last 3 weeks and is out-snapping him 113-95. KC's weakness is obviously their run game. You touched on the quarterback show that their passing defense hasn't been as good over the past couple of weeks, but obviously you want to attack them on the ground. You want to try and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field as much as you possibly can. That's really the only chance that Cleveland has of winning this game. So I think even if they do get behind, Chubb could see some work in the passing game. And then Cam Akers, real quick for me, we loved him coming into this year, and he has turned out to be that dude over the past couple of weeks. It took more than half the season to get here, but good things come to those who wait. Akers has been handling the majority of the load. Obviously, it helps with Darrell Henderson going on IR, but he's handling nearly all the running back touches. Over his last 5 games, hasn't seen fewer than 61% of the snaps, and that includes 70% last week. The Packers' run defense, again, like the Chiefs, that is their weakness. That's where you want to attack them. You don't want to get into a shootout with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, I think, again, very similar to Cleveland. We see the Rams want to try and keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. That's going to be a heavy dosage of the run game, and that is going to mean a heavy dosage of Cam Akers. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm curious to get your take on him. Obviously returned to practice today. I think he was officially listed as limited. And then past him, like I said, Kareem Hunt is interesting if we see this turn into a shootout where they're playing from behind. Maybe we see more 2 running back sets. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen too much of that from Cleveland yet. Singletary, obviously, with Zach Moss hitting IR, he's interesting, but it's not a good matchup for him. Same if Ronald Jones is able to come back, he did not play in the last game because he suffered the setback during warmups. I would think he would be okay. He obviously didn't practice today, but we've talked about the Wednesday practice reports on this here pod enough that we don't have to dive too far into that. Obviously, you want to keep an eye on him. And after that, it gets pretty gross pretty quick. So hopefully you don't have to reach down too far into these rankings. But Kevin, how do you feel about these groups of running backs?
Yeah, I mean, so I have Nick Chubb at number 1 because a lot of the stuff that you mentioned, and also the Chiefs have been really bad against the run this year. They've really struggled to stop the run. We'll have to see. They are going to get Anthony Hitchens back, which is a good thing for this run defense, but it's not a huge improvement. The real big thing for me is going to be Willie Gay if they're able to get him back. He got hurt week 17, but with the bye, with the time off, it should allow him time to get back. But if he's able to get back, that'll help because he's really been a really big find for them. He was their second round pick this year out of the NFL draft, and the dude's got legit wheels. Like, I believe he ran like a 4.40 coming out. Like, the dude he's been excellent. So in the limited opportunities, there's been a lot of people around here that have been upset that he hasn't gotten more opportunity in that linebacking core because their linebackers have been really dreadful this year, and he's been kind of the one bright spot. So obviously, if he's able to play, but regardless of that, Nick Chubb is gonna get his work, and like you mentioned, that he really has taken over. Like, people want to keep playing Kareem Hunt, DFS as well, but he's just not, like, if he didn't get those goal line opportunities and those touchdowns last week, it would have been a really bad week for Kareem Hunt because he didn't really do a whole lot. And we've seen Nick Chubb become more and more involved in the passing game, and that was kind of earmarked for Kareem Hunt. So, it's tough to really trust him. So I think with the matchup and everything else, the only way that I think Nick Chubb really doesn't hit value and really doesn't pay off is if the Chiefs just come out and boat race them early, which I don't know. Like, do we see that the Chiefs do kind of fall on their face a little bit to start the game, like we kind of saw last year in the playoffs, where they started slow every single game, and then they kind of turned it on and just went nuclear. If the Chiefs are able to get out quickly, then that would be the one issue where you have a problem with Nick Chubb. But other than that, I have Aaron Jones at 2. We talked about how, among the quarterbacks video, that with the Packers this week, I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. You can probably expect Aaron Jones to get his normal, probably 60 to 70% of the snaps. He's somebody that has split a lot of touches, but I think that now we're in the playoffs, I think you can expect that Aaron Jones is going to get the majority of the work. This is the reason why they do not, give him 70, 80% of the opportunities throughout the season, why they spell him so often with Jamal Williams, is to be able to unleash him in the playoffs. And while the Rams have been a good run defense, they're not elite. They're definitely a defense that, if you really commit to the run, that they certainly could get out there and get some stuff done. They've also been vulnerable in the passing game to pass catching running backs as well. So that spells well for Aaron Jones. So I don't mind Aaron Jones whatsoever. Cam Akers, I like Cam Akers a lot. We both have him at 3. We may have him a little bit higher than most people do, but the Packers have really struggled this year. They've allowed the 5th most fantasy points to the position on the season. And they're just not great at getting pressure on the quarterback whatsoever, really, this year, which is kind of different because last year that was kind of the opposite. But, this is certainly a defense you can run the football on, and they have committed to Cam Akers. It blows my mind this week on Twitter. We've been seeing a lot of people talking about Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers. And, I know Darrell Henderson's on IR, so he's not really a factor in this game, but talking about it from like next year, and it's fucking stupid. Like I don't give a shit what you think, and the stats that you're trying to throw out there, whatever your narrative cherry picking stats that you're trying to find to talk about Darrell Henderson because you were higher on Darrell Henderson in the preseason. The Rams clearly fucking disagree with you, and since Cam Akers really took over that game against the Patriots, like, he hasn't looked back. He has been the workhorse back in this offense, and it's not going to change this week against the Packers. So if the Rams are going to win this game, they're going to have to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field, and they're going to do that by pounding the fucking rock with Cam Akers. And like I said, this is a really good matchup against the Packers, so I do like Cam Akers quite a bit here in this matchup. Alvin Kamara, I am lower on him than you, and that is because that this matchup is just not a good matchup against the Saints, or against the Bucs, excuse me. The Bucs have been great against the run this year. You may hear some people talk about this week about them, and because they have allowed 101 receptions this year, which is I believe that is number 1 in the league. The problem is, like, they're just not giving a ton of production though either. Like, they are doing very good. Like, yes, they are. You see quarterbacks that target the running backs against them quite a bit. It's mainly because teams aren't able to actually run the football against them. So they kind of, you do the little screens, dump off stuff like that as like a way to kind of run the football against teams. But they're still not getting a ton of production this year either. They've only allowed 3 receiving touchdowns on the season. So I don't think you should expect a ton of production from Alvin Kamara as a pass catcher either in this matchup. So I think this is more of a Drew Brees, Michael Thomas type game, not so much for Alvin Kamara. Could Alvin Kamara get absolutely? He's Alvin Kamara, but I would lower my expectations for Alvin Kamara this week just because it's just not a great matchup for him. The other guys that you talked about, I just want to hit on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You did bring him up. He is coming back from injury. I think this could be a game for Clyde Edwards-Helaire if he's healthy. I think that he is. If they're going to have him out there, that he could really get going, utilize him in the passing game. Whatever he's played, like he's still their workhorse. 66% of the opportunities in this backfield. He's been targeted 55 times this year in 13 games, just 14th among all running backs. So I don't mind Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I think if you are not going to play Patrick Mahomes, I think good leverage off that in terms of getting action on this game is going Clyde Edwards-Helaire where nobody's going to have him. And if he goes off here, it is a big leverage point in trying to be different. And I think this is a way you could do it is by still getting action on this game and getting access to the points in this game by going with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I do think it's a little bit different. Nobody's going to play him. And I think that that's a little bit of a mistake here for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Leonard Fournette and Devin Singletary are both guys. I don't think Ronald Jones plays this week. He has not practiced yet this week. I don't think he plays. And then Devin Singletary, which I don't know if you didn't bring this up, but the Browns, the Bills signed Devonta Freeman. I don't know if you saw that or not yesterday.
I did not.
Yeah, so Devonta Freeman is a Buffalo Bill, and they said they are trying to do whatever they can to get him up to speed. So, on one hand, I like Devin Singletary. Like, if it was just going to be Devin Singletary out there, I think Devin Singletary would be great. But at the same time, I don't know what they're going to do with Devonta Freeman. Devonta Freeman obviously was signed by the Giants, didn't do a whole lot. Kind of had, a couple of okay games, but that was about it. But now he is being, going to take that role. But I still think Devin Singletary leads this backfield probably 60 to 70% of the touches. He's going to be the pass catching running back as well. So, if you want to get a little bit different, Devin Singletary would be the way to go. And I think nobody's going to play him either. I just can't mess with Kareem. I think you could play Kareem Hunt because maybe they do use him more as a pass catcher, but they just haven't been willing to do that. I know Kareem Hunt came out this week and said, it's personal for me, which makes no fucking sense whatsoever. I don't know how this game could be personal for you, bro. Whatever. I don't know. I just thought that was the most asinine thing I've ever seen when he said it's personal for him. It's a personal game for him. But like you said, other than that, I don't think you really want to play any of these other guys. I think the guys that I really am focused on is Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, probably Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like I said, if you want to get really different, and that's probably it.
Yeah, it's really, and then J.K. Dobbins, I think, is a little interesting, just because the matchup. I think of the remaining teams, they've given up the second most rushes of 20+ yards. So J.K. Dobbins could rip off a big one. You had touched on last week that he is very touchdown dependent. I heard you mention that on the DFS show, and that that was definitely true last week. Hopefully, he has a little bit better of an outing. So I think that's going to do it. Like I said, if you want your chance at the Keenan Allen Robinson jerseys, join us live on Thursday night and Friday night. That is Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, Friday night at 9 p.m. We're going to ask a question. You answer. If you're first and you're right, you get the jersey. Simple as that. If you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comments, or you can always go over and just drop us a question in the community tab that is available on YouTube now as well. So good luck to everybody this week, and we'll talk to you all soon.